really know what this is about. I don't really know if I buy into this whole Jesus thing, but I'm willing to come and listen. My grandma drugged me here. My mom drugged me here. Everybody get drugged everywhere when you're little. You're just going all over wherever they tell you. But you're like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know about this. But I want you to know, guys, here at Timberline, you're welcome here because this is the thing, man. This is a place you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to come and be able to quote all the different scriptures and know exactly what this theology is all about. But God is here in this place, and He welcomes everybody who comes to these doors. Do you believe that? Then we have another group of people. Now, I think, to be honest, I think this is probably the largest group of people in this room and probably in the United States, is that it's people who have given their life to God. Now, it probably looked a little bit like this, though. It probably looked like, showing up at a youth camp, showing up at a church, showing up somewhere, and all of a sudden you start to hear about this place called heaven. And as we're talking, you start to think, man, that sounds like a really good place. I mean, streets of gold, all this, you get to live for eternity with Jesus. That sounds pretty good. I mean, all of a sudden, then you start to hear about this other place, and it's the opposite of that, and it's called hell, right? Now, hell is hot, right? And you're like, man, it sounds like torture for eternity. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to be able to say, yeah, I would rather do that. Anybody else have that experience? And you're like, I really don't want to go to hell, and I do want to go to heaven, so I'm going to give my life to Jesus, or I'm going to ask Him into my heart, or I'm going to get saved, right? Anybody else have that experience? You guys need to like slap each other? Or, this is your moment. This is your time. So, but because of that, what happens is we end up recognizing Jesus as Savior, but we don't recognize Him as actual Lord of our life. Because there's a big difference between accepting Him as Savior or accepting Him as Lord. Savior looks like, I'm glad that you did for me on the cross. I really don't want to go to hell. Come into my life, right? Lord looks like this. I'm glad all that you did for me. And in response to that, in response to this over here, I'm going to live my life for you. What you tell me to do is what I will do. You are the Lord of my life, not me. Not my will, but your will. Does that make sense? And because of that, what we end up doing is we don't ever share our faith with anybody else around us. When we're in that place where we just recognize Him as Savior, basically we're just holding on for dear life. Like, I just want to get through this world. I just want to get through this life, and eventually I'm going to end up in heaven. That's all I'm going for. But the reality is this, is we don't ever start to tell anybody else about the experience that we had with Him. And there's all kinds of reasons for that. But what's cool about the Bible is this, is He says this. He says, go and be my witnesses. Have you ever listened to somebody who is a witness? Maybe of a plane crash or a street fight or whatever. Yes. The only qualification that witness has, they don't have a PhD, they don't have a master's degree in plane physics. Is that even a thing, plane physics? Anyway, they don't have a degree in anything like that. All they have is this. They were just there. That's it. That's why they get interviewed. That's why they get asked the questions. And that's what He tells us. He says, look, you don't have to have a PhD in doctoral theology. You don't have to have graduated from Harvard or this or that. All you have to do is just have been there. Been where? You just had to be there when God showed up in your life. That sounds pretty easy, don't you think? And it's just telling other people about that. Like, dude, I had some crazy stuff going on in my life. And I can't really explain this, but I can tell you this, that I was at a point in my life where something had to give. And then I came to this place, and I heard about this guy, or my mom talked to me about Jesus, and I decided to give him my life, and everything has changed from that point on. That's what being a witness looks like. Make sense? So here's Jesus, and He's talking to these guys, and he's talking to this whole group of people, right? And he's starting to he's looking for these people to follow Him. And he's kind of given a picture of what it's going to look like when they're actually following Him, and it's actually not being a fisherman, but it's being a fisher of men. So for us in this place, we can look at the same picture and we can say, okay, God, well, what are you trying to tell me in this whole story? Why did this make it into the Bible? How did you know that I was going to be here at this place at this time? What do you want to tell me? Because the reality is this.